I chose to do my well, I chose to do my argumentative essay on what is the best parenting style to raise successful kids. What does one think of when it comes to success? Success is usually seen as a high position in a workplace or making more money than the usual pay of someone else in society. This level of success must come from somewhere and somehow happen. Some may say it can come from one's emotions, motivations, or even from the upbringing of a child into their adulthood. There are three main types of parenting styles: permissive, which is responsive and warm, but also reluctant to enforce rules. Then there's authoritarian, where the parent expects orders and rules to be obeyed. If not obeyed, a punishment is enforced, such as the child does not do their homework, or isn't home by a set time, or doesn't follow one of the rules. Then they are then punished for their actions and disowned by their parents. Lastly, there is authoritative, which is probably one of the most successful ways to raise a child due to the emotional and discipline of balance. These parents raise their children to be more likely to succeed due to the amount of balance they have in their life and the love they show their child. Let's talk a little about authoritarian parents and how their children turn out. Due to the lack of support they give their children in life, the child will become less socially developed later on, and even less mentally developed due to the pressure and control of the parent. This can then lead them to mess with higher authority in order to feel they're in control of their life more. This rebellion towards authority is due to anger that they have built up over the years because they can't express anger within their household or else their parents would get mad and yell at them, so they express anger towards higher authorities such as the police or even a principal in a school. When it comes to the mental health of one raised by authoritarian parents, I will share one of my own stories. As a child, I was either my parents' way or it was the highway. This then affecting me and my own self-esteem, anxiety, and mental health, especially my anxiety, because my parents would tell me you aren't right or this is wrong, and that it makes me afraid to do things or answer questions now because I feel like I'm not right. And then my self-esteem, it affect me based upon how I felt about my own self in the world. And lastly, my mental health. My mental health is where it got me. It got to a point that I had to move out. Once after I turned 18, I felt the pressure of college and the feeling of anxiety from years of being told I wasn't good enough. All these feelings leading me to admit myself into the hospital back in September. And while being in the hospital, I learned things, and I use those ways to help me today. However, that's just some of my story. The rest, I'm going to keep a secret because it's kind of different. But in an authoritarian relationship, it can also be called a tough love relationship. This relationship is that of the parents thinking that by being tough on their children, it will instill discipline in the child later on in life. However, this is not true. There is a thing called nature versus nurture. And tough love goes against this in a way. It creates more harm than strength in the child because it's not really a relationship with the child. It's more of just telling your child to get over it or stuff along that line. However, this does not prevent the child from making mistakes later on in the future. It actually holds them back from being successful later on within life. However, authoritarian parent isn't the only type of parenting to focus on this. There's also permissive parenting. Children of permissive parents are less likely to have knowledge of their surroundings. Studies show an association between permissive parenting and substance abuse within children. This picture here is a picture that my friend Elliot had photoshopped and also taken, depicting substance abuse that he went through in high school as a teen due to the parents he was raised by that were permissive. He let me share this story with you guys because it was important to him, and he thinks people should know the right way to go and which way's the wrong from the right. And the substance abuse was due to the lack of rules they give the children, allowing them to do whatever they would like in life with no consequences. This then leading to not having time management skills later on in life. In the work field, or even when in college, without these types of skills, children are less prepared for college, or even for applying to a job, because they don't know what rejection feels like. This then resulting in them lashing out. On this note of lashing out, based upon a feeling of emotion, let's move on to my third point, being that of effects of authoritative parenting on children. Children of authoritative parents, within a study done, was seen to have well-regulated emotions, could respond well to difficult tasks, and their social skills were more developed, and overall, they were genuinely happy. They ended up being more successful in the work field and school due to the regulation of emotions and balance they had in life, allowing them to have patience while doing challenging tasks in the work field or even through college, such as presentations, tests, or studying for homework without getting overwhelmed and stressed as easily. However, one may argue that those of Chinese or Asian culture are still successful in school and the work field, even though they were raised by authoritarian parents. This, however, is true but different at the same time because it is part of their culture to be successful and honor the family's name, unlike European cultures where success doesn't determine family worth. Lastly, this is a chart that shows the different ways of parenting styles. As you can see, authoritative parenting is responsive in warmth and demandingness. Permissive is control, like low in control but high in responsiveness, while authoritarian is low in warmth and responsiveness but very high in demandingness. Lastly, this all leads to a conclusion that if parenting style does affect the way a child is raised, and if a parent were to raise their child differently, maybe they could succeed in life later on, such as college or the workplace. Thank you.